Now it's time to pick your federation, and there's loads of federations out there. Now most people have heard of the big ones, PCA or Two Bros for example, but you might not have heard of all of them and you might not be sure exactly which one is best for you and why. So hopefully I can give you a little bit of an insight in this video, although you will have to start to follow some pages, get a feel for what they're about, have a feel for their marketing and what sort of personality they project. And then also I would highly recommend, if you can, go to a few shows. Don't just go to a few shows of the one federation, try a few out. So if you go below this video, I have linked a number of federations below that you can follow their pages and start to get a feel for what they're about. Maybe check out when they're hosting shows, grab a friend, go along, and just get a feel for how they run shows. Try a few, and that will certainly really help you start to gravitate towards a specific federation. Now, on to the overview of the federations. Now I've said that part, there are two main categories of federations. We've got tested federations and we've got untested federations. Now, as the name would suggest, tested federations are drug tested and untested are not. So they welcome people who are natural and not natural. Now, a lot of the untested federations, they now do tested shows, they do natural shows, they do shows that are specifically dedicated towards naturals, although for the most part they're not a natural federation. Now, they are drug tested and most people competing will be natural, but every once in a while a cheater slips through the cracks in these federations because they're not as stringent in terms of their drug testing and the community they build are not as hardcore natural as the dedicated natural federations, the dedicated tested federations, okay? So the first consideration is, do you want complete confidence that everybody you're competing against is natural? And if the answer is yes to that, then you want to go for one of the tested federations. Now, the tested federations, as you'll see below, are WNBF, UK DFBA, BNBF, and honestly, those are the three that I would recommend. So when it comes to, for example, the WNBF, they only host 2 shows a year. UK DFBA only host up to half a dozen-ish. Same as BNBF. So these are usually spread out across the year. I can give you another example. WNBF as a federation, they usually have a show in July and they have a show in October. So depending on how long you need in order to get ready and be confident for your show, this might decide, based on the calendar, what federation that you're going to choose for you, because there's a limited amount of options if you are a natural and you're going for one of these tested federations anyway. And when it comes to the untested federations, the likes of PCA and Two Bros, they have shows so frequently that you really can just look at any month in which suits you best and there's likely to be a show there, okay? So really, that's another option as well. I would probably suggest, if you are natural, going for one of the tested federations. As I said, they're a bit more dedicated towards naturals. And then if you're not and you don't mind, then going for an untested federation where you've got a little bit more flexibility of choice across the calendar for when you would like to compete. Now, next consideration that I would just like to mention is, if you need a certain amount of time to get ready and be successful on stage, say for example 8 months, then walking forward 8 months from now would place you at a certain month in the calendar next year, and then all you would need to do is check the bodybuilding show calendar in Compact, and it'll give you a list of the shows that are occurring in that month. And if you've done, as I've advised at the start of the video, and you've been to a few shows and checked them out, you've followed the various pages, you've sort of gravitated towards a couple, then you can decide what shows, in terms of the date, make sense for you, and you can ultimately give them a shot. And in closing, my last point was going to be, you are just going to have to find your feet. You are going to have to try various federations, and oftentimes in the beginning of people's bodybuilding journeys, they try various federations, they're not for them, and they leave them alone for the future competitive seasons that they go through. You might gravitate towards federations because your actual experience within them is a little bit more favorable or a little bit more appreciated by you preferentially, and therefore that's where you decide to make your home, so to speak, for your future competitive seasons. So, hope this helps. There's no exact way for me to tell you which federation is best. You kind of have to decide for yourself, but hopefully I've given you some pointers in which can help you start to naturally gravitate towards certain federations. Now, One resource that I would highly recommend going and checking out for the future shows and understanding an overview of the calendar is the Compact bodybuilding calendar that is updated every single year, and they do a really good job on that website. I'll link that down below, so go and check it out. It'll give you an overview of what shows are happening in what months and what dates and which federations they are and everything in between. So it's a really good resource. If you have any further questions, drop them in the WhatsApp group and I'll chat to you in the next one.